Hey everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to the monthly meta. Every month we get together and we have a look at two things in competitive Blood Bowl. What's legal and what's lethal. Specifically, we look at what's available for Blood Bowl. So if you're just starting out, just coming back, just kind of, I don't know, getting ready to join a league or go playing some tournaments, we cover everything you need to know, everything you need to get hold of, and everything you're going to need to play Blood Bowl, as well as some really fun optionals. And then secondly, we have a look at what's lethal. We have a look at the most recent NAF stats. So the NAF is a player association of Blood Bowl that kind of tracks tournament wins and tournament records. And we can see what's popular and, more importantly, what's the most winningest teams out there at the moment. Now, as ever, we're going to start with what's legal in Blood Bowl. And the really good news is you do not need a lot if you are going to be playing Blood Bowl in a league or a tournament. For two reasons, really. When it comes to playing in a tournament or playing in a league, the tournament organizer or the commissioner for the league will probably let you know what's in and what's out. They'll give you a list. They'll say, in this tournament, we're using this stuff. In this league, we're not using this stuff, which makes it a lot easier for you to kind of make sure you're aligned and your expectations are aligned with whichever group you're going to be joining. Now, on the other hand, if you are just starting out with Blood Bowl, this is everything you need. You need the Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook because that has the rules in it. You're going to need those rules. And when it comes to rules, Games Workshop rulebooks tend to need a jolly good FAQing, and every 6 months there is an FAQ delivered. We've recently had ours in May, and there were a few changes to it. If you've got the rulebook, you can play out of the rulebook, but the FAQ clears up a lot of issues and corrects a few other things that kind of make the gameplay a little bit smoother in theory. So that's available downloadable online, and if you want coverage of it, we've got loads of videos covering each FAQ as it's come out, so that you can kind of get to grips with what's the rules, what the rulebook says, and then what the rulebook means by having the designer's commentary or the FAQ. Right, on top of that, there's a couple of books kicking around. You've got the Almanac 2021 and the Almanac 2022. That is annual. That is the Blood Bowl Annual 2021, and what it does is it compiles everything that comes out in this year, in that year, and puts it together in one place. So if you don't buy every supplement that comes out during a year, you just get the Almanac, you'll basically have everything that was released that year in one place for you. And the Almanac 2021 has a couple of teams, and the Almanac 2022 has, I believe, a couple of teams and a long list of star players. But whether you are buying a star player from Forge World or picking up a box of Blood Bowl players from your friendly local gaming shop, if they are the Games Workshop ones, they come with all the rules you'll need for them in the boxes. So if you pick up a Norse team, you pick up an Amazon team, a Khorne team, on the back of the instruction pamphlet, you will have the cost, the skills, the stats of all the players in that box. And if you want to run that team, we've got some starting rosters guidance on our channel as well. So if you pick up a Norse box and you want to know what the best way to start out with your team is, you can go there and see that. And the other thing is, if there is a star player released, and we've seen one this month, a star player that's been spoiled without a book to go along with it, you know that the rules for that star player are going to be in the box it comes with, also available to download online. So to summarize, you need the rulebook, and then you need to go online, get the FAQ, and if you buy a star player or a team, your rules are likely to come with it. If you go third party, for example, you go to Grebo or Punga, or you pick up a 3D printed team from us, you will have to track down the rules, but with all the online Blood Bowl roster builders out there, it is not difficult at all. In fact, if you go to any one of our tournament pages, there is a roster builder with every team and every star player in. So if you need the rules and the costs for stuff, it's not that hard to get hold of. So that's the starting point. The Blood Bowl book has got 20-something stars and 21 teams. Every team comes with the rules in the box for it as well. But there's more stuff out there if you want. So, Necromantic Spike 11, Spike 12 and Ability in Blackall. That's got fluff and background. Necromantic's got a few star players for him. The Khorne book has got the rules for the Khorne team and the Khorne star players. There's 3 of those, and the same is true of the Norse and Amazon Spike magazines as well. They are small booklets. They're A4, they're 30-something pages, and you get the team rules, you get the rules of the star players, and then you get a load of cool optional rules, like how to run a Lustrian league with kind of special rules for playing in the jungle. It's entirely unnecessary. You don't need it to play, but it's really cool extra stuff to read. They're all really cheap, but you don't need them because the star player rules come with the star player and the team rules come with the team. But they are excellent accessories if you're going for that team because you've got some good background and it's really kind of sets the tone and sets the flavour for that roster. Now, the most important thing on this screen here is the Teams of Legend PDF. So, Games Workshop has got 24 teams that they've made, that they're out there now. You can go and buy them, especially with OWA and Underworlds being released recently. You can just go pick up a team. Not true of Chaos Renegades, which is the most fun team, but you kind of have to source it. Anyway, 24 teams. There's 4 more that you can download that are from before the 2016 edition. Specifically, we've got vampires, we've got tomb kings, think Egyptian skeletons, we've got chaos dwarves, think chaos dwarves, and we've got high elves, which are shiny, sparkly elves who are good at throwing. Those are 4 teams we're waiting to be revamped. They've not landed yet. There's super rumours of those teams being done soon over the next few years, but you can download the rules for those extra teams right now, pick up a third-party team, pick up an old-school Games Workshop team, and run them as well. So that's 28 teams, Games Workshop official. 24 of them have new models, 4 of them we're waiting on new models, and there is a 29th team as well, but it is an unofficial one. So we talked about the NAF earlier. They have kept alive the Slann roster. Slann, think Space Frogs. If you played Blood Bowl 2, think Kislev Circus. It's a fantastic, fun roster. It's all about leaping over people. It is risky. It is high risk, high reward. It's a ton of fun. But I think you'll find that most leagues and most tournaments will allow the Slann roster in there as well. So you've got 29 teams to choose from. All the star players have either got the rules in the rulebook, in their Spike magazines with the packet, or there's a big section on the Games Workshop website with star player downloads as well. So you've got the NAF download for Slann, you've got the Teams of Legends download for Tomb Kings, Vampires, High Elves and Chaos Dwarves. You've got the rules for all the other teams either in the box or in the rulebook or in their Spike magazine. That's everything you really need to get in, and a lot of it you'll just have it already. But there's more. So that stuff is what you need to play a tournament or play a league. And there's just a bunch of fun optional extras for Blood Bowl. And this stuff is all official as well. You're probably not likely to need it too much, but if you love playing Blood Bowl and you want more Blood Bowl, and as we all know, more Blood Bowl is more better, this is where you want to go. So Death Zone was released in 2021, like an almanac, but this was full of brand new optional extra rules for giants, for mercenaries, a ton of wizards and extra inducements. It is just an awesome expansion to Blood Bowl, and if you love playing Blood Bowl, you will love that book. It's got great stuff for Blood Bowl 11s, and it has the rules for the best way to play, which is Blood Bowl 7s, which is a shorter game with less players on a smaller, different pitch. It is fantastic. Real Blood Bowl on the pitch can take 2.5 hours to play a game. Blood Bowl 7s, 45 minutes. It's just as miserable and just as exciting. I cannot recommend 7s enough, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, jump on our channel because we've got a couple of seasons of 7s being played. Now, on top of that, you've got Dungeon Bowl, which takes the action-packed fun of Blood Bowl and puts it underground in a dungeon. You've got wizards, you've got teleporters, you've got treasure chests, some of them explode, you've got mixed college teams as well. It's a great little sub-format. We run one event every year that is just Dungeon Bowl. We sell out every year, and it is just an outrageous amount of fun. It's a great different way to play, as is this month's new release. So we waited a week to release this monthly beta because we wanted Gutter Bowl to be released. We wanted to play it. We wanted to see what it was all about. And it is out now. And if you want to see a game of Gutter Bowl played, jump on the channel. We did a live stream of it last Thursday. But Gutter Bowl is a beautiful blend of 7s and Dungeon Bowl. You've got Dungeon Bowl terrain rules, you've got 7-size teams with a little bit more on an 11s pitch with terrain elements on. It is violent and it is challenging. It is advanced. There's a lot of complicated rules and it is just a combat game rather than a sports game. But again, it's a really great alternative way to play. If you want to say to somebody, hey, What do you want to play on Saturday? Should we play a couple of games of Dungeon Bowl, or should we play a couple of games of Gutter Bowl? You can do that. Gutter Bowl's looking like it's going to take an hour to play a game. Sevens takes about 45 minutes. It's not far off. You can definitely binge a few games of Gutter Bowl and you will get a very different play experience than any other modes there. So it's a cool thing if you can pick it up. Currently it's sold out, but at some point you can get hold of it, I'm sure. It's really good fun. There are special play cards and pitches from Games Workshop as well. They often have special rules in them. Lots of leagues and most tournaments won't use the special rules for either of them during their events, but they are fun to have, as is the referee rules. If you want to put one of those cool referee models from the boxed game onto the pitch and have them do stuff until you murder the referee, that's where you want to go. But if you can't track down the White Dwarf, we did a Theory Thursday on how those rules work as well. That's all the official stuff from Games Workshop. There is a few other things you should definitely be aware of, and you may see some of these at tournaments, but this is more just fun, extra ways to play. So mixed team rules. We run an event every year where you can mix teams. What that does is it takes that 29 rosters and kind of puts them together, and I think it's something like 700 combinations. You can put elves with dwarves, you can put Skaven with chaos, and you can brew up some outrageously fun roster builds. So I do wholeheartedly recommend that. If you want to check out our rules for doing that, we use our Bonehead Bowl rule set, and man, it's July, jeez. We've got our Bonehead Bowl coming up in 4 months' time, so the rules are up for that, or will be up for that soon. We're going to be using the same rules pack as last time, so it's a really cool way of taking a couple of teams you already got, or adding to a team and just creating a team that you have never played before and you are likely to never play against again. It's just the best way to play 11s. Fumble's Secret League. So Fumble is an online JavaScript client where you can play very, very 2D retro Blood Bowl. It is amazing. It is the only place to play the proper Blood Bowl rules at the moment. And they've got a whole bunch, I think 80 something extra teams in there that you can go and play. And we're talking giant teams, tree man teams, teams from Nippon. There's just a real good mix. Obviously the Squig team is on there as well, so it's a great way of just more Blood Bowl teams being available to you. And the cool thing is you can kind of log on there and just play it online against randoms, and it's just some of the most fun Blood Bowl imaginable. Other variants, you've got Street Bowl, which is like sevens but played on cobblestones made of hate. It's a great alternative. We were worried that Gutter Bowl replaced it, but it hasn't, so watch out for more Street Bowl content coming from us, because it's a great extra way to play that. Beach Bowl is like sevens but with a sprinkling of every Top Gun movie. You know the scene. 4-player games as well, Death Bowl and Death Bowl 7s. If you've got a whole day to play a game, you can play Death Bowl 11s. If you've got a whole afternoon, you can play Death Bowl 7s. Feels way more like playing a board game than a game of Blood Bowl, but it is a ton of fun. Again, we've filmed one and put it on the channel, and all of us have rolled like trash ever since, but it was good fun anyway. Alright, so what's new this month in Games Workshop official Blood Bowl? Star player models. So Ripper Bolgrot has come up as being available for pre-order coming up in the next week. We've seen a bunch of star player models spoiled over the last few weeks. Not sure how many of them are actually available for release yet. Ripper, I think, is the first one. We're still waiting on Grashnak. I think Cindy's out now. There's a bunch of cool star player models. They've completed everything. We're not waiting for anybody now. We're into new star player territory, and that's where Ivan the Animal comes in. So this is a new model from Games Workshop and a new star to this edition. He does not belong to any spike. He's an undead star player who hates dwarves. We've seen him. They've shown the model off. We don't know when he's going to be available for order. We don't know what his rules are going to be fully. And we're thinking this is the beginning of the road to the next team, which we'll talk about in a second. And obviously this month we've had the Gutter Bowl expansion release as well. This was a pitch that came with a rulebook the size of a Spike magazine, and it's just a ton of fun. It's a great way to play Blood Bowl. It's just slightly different than every other way, so can wholeheartedly recommend. But obviously the thing we're all waiting for is the next full team release from Games Workshop. We had rumours that vampires were tested alongside Amazons. Amazons was spoiled this time last year, and the team finally dropped, I think, in October. We're kind of brewing up now, we think, for another team release. We've had Gutter Bowl. We should have had Blood Bowl 3 in the springtime, but that launch was a bit miserable, so it kind of felt like ages since we had anything shiny for Blood Bowl. Gutter Bowl landed last week. We've seen a star player that's going to play for the Sylvanian Spotlight. It's got kind of some bat wings on it, and with the rumours of vampires from before and the release of a Sylvanian Spotlight star player, the rumour of the next team being a revamped vampire roster is looking pretty big, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see it coming later this year. But as equally, I wouldn't be surprised if Games Workshop didn't just drop a new team. So I'm still hoping for a proper Games Workshop Squig team, but in the meantime, I'm quite happy just playing with my Brute Fun one. Okay, we've covered what's legal in Blood Bowl, now on to what's lethal. So I get these stats from Mike Davies' Tableau page, where he takes all the NAF stats from the NAF website, which is a bit of a NAF website, chucks it into a Tableau so you can see the data points. And we are looking at success in Blood Bowl 2020, but what I do is I break it down to the results recorded since our last episode, so we can kind of track what's been successful in the last period of Blood Bowl. So in this result, it's just a little bit over a month, and we are going to kick off first of all by having a look at the most wins for a team over the last month. So starting at 29th spot, we've got Goblins. Goblins got hurt a little bit in the last FAQ with bombs and chainsaws and fouling kind of just being toned down a little bit. They are a little bit of a victim of a crossfire of star player proliferation and just people over-egging the fouling system. This has not helped Goblins. Plus, we've got the NAF World Cup rule set's quite popular at the moment, and the NAF rule kind of hates star players and isn't even allowing star players that have been released in the last year. So Ripper and Ripper, Nobbler, Scrapper, some of the cool, exciting pieces for Goblins are not being allowed in a lot of tournaments at the moment, so I think it's keeping Goblins down. Once we get over the World Cup rule set, I think we're going to see Goblins take a little bit of an improvement. They won't be able to play the way they used to, which was just max attrition. It will be a case of they might have to play a little bit more Blood Bowl instead of just Blood. It's not very Goblin, but Goblin coaches are probably the most adaptable ones out there. They're just mad, and they'll find a way to win. Dropping 4 spots, we've got Nurgle down to 40%, Black Orcs up 1 to 41%, both in at 42%. We've got Humans dropping a few spots and Chaos climbing a little bit. So all kind of hitting in that 40 to 42% range. Black Orcs, we see a little bit low. Humans, that's quite a drop. Where they got a tier change from tier 1 to tier 2, most rules packs give them a couple of extra skills now, and they have been able to perform pretty well. But over the last couple of periods, they've dropped a little bit. Climbing ever so slightly, we've got Halflings. They actually have star players that can win them a game at the moment, so I guess they're doing all right. Slap bang in the middle there, not moving at all, is Vampires at 23 with a 44% win rate. And then we get to the bottom of the Goldilocks zone. So the Goldilocks zone is 45 to 55%. Just those that are kind of 5% up or down of middle zone. So these guys are all what I would say underperforming. Then we hit the bottom of the Goldilocks zone, which is Khorne, who have dropped 4 places. Khorne are a brilliant team, but you are a little bit at the whim of the dice. That's just how Khorne rolls. Up 4 spots, we've got Ogres there. 48% win rate, which is not bad at all. As we move into the midfield here, Nobility up 1 spot. Nobility actually looking like a pretty fun team in the World Cup roster. They can kind of take everything they need, and they've got a good assortment of skills. They already start with some really good control skills, so being able to just accentuate that with good amounts of gold and good amounts of combat skills, the team starts to cook really nicely. Now, we've got a whole wodge of teams that have dropped a few spots here. So down to 19th spot, we've got Snotlings down 5 spaces. Norse taking an absolute massive hooning down to 49%. Also in at 49%, we've got Chaos Renegades and OWA. Now, this is really interesting. So OWA and Chaos Renegades have both got a really good package for World Cup. So I do wonder if we're seeing these guys decline as more and more coaches try out different rosters for these teams. And it might be that they are unsuccessful, but even if they dropped a few spots, they're still sitting at a 49% win rate, which really isn't bad. That means you're almost as likely to win any game that you play as you are to lose with them, which is a pretty great place to be for any team, especially the kind of mixed match teams, especially in tier 2. Down 7 spots to 15, we've got Necromantic up 6 spots. Big climb here. Elven Union up 6 as well. This is a bit of a bash heavy format for Blood Bowl at the moment, so it's great to see EU doing really well. Again, might be that actually there's some really good coaches leaning into the World Cup rule set for these guys now. Down 8 spots, we've got Orcs. Now, Orcs were overachieving by being in the top 10. They are a solid team. And then with Humans got boosted from tier 1 to tier 2, which normally, like I said, gives them an extra couple of skills or extra star player allowance. So Orcs are kind of like in a really good space at the moment. So if you're looking for a team to run that you can get some good insight on, Orcs are doing pretty well, but 50% win rate, still not bad. Up 7 spots, my boys, Slann. Love Slann, really fun to play with, really fun to play against. It can just fall apart though. They're very much like Khorne, where Khorne, you roll the dice to hurt your opponent. With Slann, you roll the dice to hurt yourself. Very interesting way. In fact, if you want to know more about Slann, join us for the podcast this week where Milton talks about his experience with them at Sand Bowl. Down 1 place just outside of the top 10 are Skaven. Skaven kind of been flagging in this edition of Blood Bowl, but recently with the push for the World Cup, Skaven have just rocketed up in games played and win percentage, as it should be. And we'll mosey on into the top 10, up 5 spots, it's Lizards. So Lizards, 751 games played. Lizards are a brilliant all-round roster. They take some work. If you've got a good cash package, you can afford the extra skinks you need to keep them alive. So in tournaments that are 1.2 or 1.15 even, you can kind of get a good whack of the roster and have 13 players. Any skills you get tend to just go on your Saurus to give them block, or maybe even a Croxagore to give them block too. But the reason that's so good is because that's all they need to really rock it. Dwarves up 3 spots. Undead down 2, Chaos Dwarf up 9, and Wood Elves down 3, all at 52%. So even these teams that are making big leaps, we're still not far off the center point, and this is really interesting to see as well, because you kind of, where you only look at a month's worth of data, you can see some spikes, you can see some just troughs. Actually, these teams ebbing and flowing but still remaining near the midpoint is a really good sign that there are coaches out there that know how to play with them and they know how to play against them, which is kind of how I see that midpoint balance. Chaos Dwarves jumping up is really good, and again there's some good packages for Chaos Dwarves in the World Cup. Chaos Dwarf is a really potent roster, and Realm of Paths have just dropped a really nice Chaos Dwarf team as well, which is available on our shop. So if you're interested in playing Chaos Dwarves and you don't want to pay a brand new smacking punga price for them, you can pick them up from us, and it is a great roster. And Wood Elves dropping a few spots is okay, because I think they did peak last time. Traditionally in this edition, we've not seen your Wood Elves perform massively well. I mean, they've kind of stayed within the top half of the table at least, but it's nice to see them peak up a little bit. But I think we're seeing that balance down. Tomb Kings back into the top 5 there with 53%. Tomb Kings are a little bit of the fairy tale story of this edition. You look at them on paper and they're great fun. Okay, they got 4 big guys, no nega traits, no mighty blow, and you've got a whole team of Edge 4+. That team is, it just rewards consistency, good positioning, and a little bit of luck. And it's been fantastic to see that roster stay so high. They don't have a Movement 9 Edge 2+ star player. They don't have a Griff. They don't have a Hackflem to win for them. The best they've got is Cheney, who, although he is Movement 8, he's only Edge 3+, so it's definitely not a gimme. And he's expensive, and Tomb Kings want their full roster. So good to see them sticking around. Amazons, we talked about this last month, that we kind of expected them to start seeing a bit of a spike because it is a very good roster. These rosters tend to land, they tend to do poorly, they tend to then spike up as players get to learn how to play with them. It's a new roster. It's a lot of similarities to the old one, but there's some new kind of differences that can be super powerful. So what we kind of see is the coaches learn how to use them, coaches learn how to play against them, it plateaus a bit, and then coaches will find an interesting way around it. Now, Amazons, I don't believe, are going to peak as high as they can because the World Cup rule set doesn't allow drawl and dribble. Amazons in this edition with Drawl and Dribble are just a fantastic team. They are a terrifying team, and we need Chaos Dwarves and Dwarves to kind of keep them in check as we leave this World Cup era. But it's very cool to see. Down one spot, we've got Dark Elves, 57% win rate. So this is the first team that's outside of the Goldilocks zone for the last month. 777 games played. Dark Elves overachieving at the moment, and they're down one spot from last month. So we saw Dark Elves basically dominate in the last edition of Blood Bowl. They've not been amazing in this one, but over the last few months, I think where you've got that consistency of play, the Dark Elf team does not take a lot of skills. Kind of dodge here, dodge there, bit of dodge here, bit of dodge there, a bit of block and a bit of block, maybe leader, and you're really good to go with Dark Elf, so it's great to see that. Only 98 games played for the next team, but at 59% back up into second place, up 15 spots. It's flipping High Elves. So High Elves are our top performing team of legend. Tomb Kings, Chaos Dwarves have been solid as you like, but High Elves have been up there in number 2 this entire season, basically. And I don't really know what to say. There's not a lot of games played with them. The people who are playing with them, generally speaking, know what to do. They've got better armor. They're a better armored version of Elven Union. So you've got the edge. You don't have all the dodgy skills, but with a decent package, you can fill the gaps in. That armor just keeps them alive in a more bash-centric format. So they're just Elven Union plus, and it's massively showing. But 61% Underworld, despite having the swarming nerf, despite the nerf to star players and Hackflem personally, and despite their tier adjustment, this team is just rocking. And we played some Gutter Bowl last week, and we kind of thought, man, Underworld would be great in this format. I dare you to find a format where you can't bring an Underworld roster that you are happy enough with, that you can win, I don't know, maybe 55% of the time. Some of you are doing it massively over that. Okay, so that's the most winningest teams out there in Blood Bowl at the moment. If you're going to a tournament, what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the most popular teams. So what are you likely to see? So bottom of the spot, we've got Vampires, we've got High Elves, we've got Slann, we've got Nurgle, we've got Old World Alliance. That's your bottom 5. You are least likely to see these, which is great if you are playing against High Elves with a fantastic win percentage at the moment. But again, 98 games recorded in the last month. Vampires are the least played team at the moment. Again, it can be challenging to get a Vampire team that you're happy with from a third party, but also the roster itself needs a little love. So we're really hoping the Vamps are the next team out there. Down to 215 games in 24th place, we've got Ogres, Elven Union, then Goblins dropping 6 spots. With the kind of adjustments, dare I say, nerfs to Goblins over the last month, I'm not surprised to see that. Up 3 spots, we've got Chaos. Chaos tend to be an uninspiring team in tournaments. They need a lot of skills to get cooking. They are a terrifyingly good league team, but in tournaments, they're not the most popular. Okay, mid-table, we've got Imperial Nobility up 2 spots. We've got Snotlings down 2 spots. Staying exactly where they are is Renegades. I love Renegades. 352 games. So Renegades are a team that Games Workshop don't really box up. If you wanted to make a Games Workshop team of Renegades, you would need to buy a human team for the Lineman, a Skaven team for the Skaven, a Dark Elf team for the Dark Elf, a few other positionals, and then 3 big guys to go with it. It's a challenging way to do it from Games Workshop, but they are bang mid-table as the most popular team out there, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Down 3 spots, we've got Halflings, 1 more game than Halflings. We've got Wood Elves up 4, we've got Tomb Kings up 4. So Halflings are less popular than a Tomb King team that you cannot buy, which is really interesting. And again, we could see that some people, more potentially the more prolific coaches that are training up for the World Cup, may have abandoned their Halfling LOL teams to play proper teams kicking around. Personally, I think Halflings are a really fun team, but in an environment where star players are penalised, they suffer heavily. But still, not what? They're the most popular stunty team I think we've seen. Again, that kind of makes sense. Black Orcs up a little bit, Khorne down a little bit, Humans up a little bit, and then Chaos Dwarves down a little bit. Which takes us to the top 10. We've got Amazons creeping up 1 spot there. 463 games played in the last month. 467 games. We've got Norse who've dropped a spot. 490. We've got Dwarves who've dropped 2 spots, and up 2 spots in their place is Necromantic at 7th place. Underworld, just over 600 games played, which just makes that 61% win rate phenomenal. That means they've won, what, 400 games over the last month. It's absolutely incredible. So they're up one spot in the top 5. Down one place, we've got Undead still staying strong. Lizardmen flip-flopping with them up one spot to 4. 751 games played, 777, and staying at third place is Dark Elves. And then we've got a bit of a switcheroo at 1 and 2 here. We've got Orcs down, having only played nearly 800 games. And at 924 games, we have got Skaven taking the number 1 spot as the number 1 team, as they should be. I mean, technically Underworld's the number 1 team, but Underworld's only so good because it's got the best thrower in the game, the Skaven thrower. Okay, I think we've covered what's legal and what's lethal, so if you are going to a Blood Bowl tournament, expect to see Skaven, Orc, Dark Elf, Lizardman, Undead, Underworld, Necromantic, Dwarf, Norse, and Amazon teams kicking around. They're the top 10. And if you're planning on winning them, potentially look at some of the top performing teams kicking around at the moment and kind of look towards that. But what I will say is the beautiful thing about Blood Bowl is that any team can beat any other team on any given die roll. So don't worry too much. Just play the team you want to play, learn to win with it, and just break some skulls on the pitch. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.